Hello. In Photon Gallery, we are specializing for contemporary and modern photography from Central and East Europe. And more and more, especially in last years, we are kind of digging out and rediscovering some photographers or artists who were using photography already at the time of 60s, 70s. And I would like to start with first one here, Slovakian artist and photographer, Rudolf Sikora. As you can see, his work is really very special. It's not what it was mainstream photography, what you would expect from Czechoslovak photography from the late 60s, 70s at that time. It's more in line with the contemporary neo-conceptual art from Eastern Europe at that time. And indeed, he was part of a couple of groups, of art groups, but he was really always very distinctive for his use of photography. You can see how he used basically photo paper, and his work is photo-based. But he always intervened with also some manual or direct handwriting of signs, symbols, or even some kind of constructivist signs, or maybe even some performative gestures. So it's really paving the way to the what was later coined as art using photography. Work of Ladislav Postupa is, let's say, more convenient in the sense that there was a strong tradition of Czechoslovakian or even more Czech tradition of surrealism, not only between the two wars but also later. Czech photographers were using photo-surrealism as something where they could hide their criticism, oppositional kind of subversive even messages about the regime at that time. And you can see that Ladislav Postupa was not here so critical, although you can find the titles like Eye of the Lord in very simple, found objects, we would say today. Stane Jagodic, on the other hand, coming from Slovenia, was not part of any kind of trend or group of that time. He was very individual, so he was experimenting and trying to find his own approach, not only using some surrealist approaches, but also he started to stage some scenes like here in the work Premonition, which has this kind of dark notion of something, and his humor, which is always present, is also kind of could be even bizarre or dark. Next to these three positions from Czechoslovakia and Slovenia, we are showing two artists who are contemporary artists, younger generation. First one, Jož Dolinšek, successfully presented last year at Curiosa section of Paris Photo, has kind of invented this way how to change the image. He inserted mirrors upon the photograph, so the viewer would see always constantly changing image. Depends on how you move your eyes, your body, your head. And also iconographically, you can see he is using motifs which are part of the nature, which is constantly changing, whether this is water or wind shaking the spider web or melting snow and similar phenomena. At the end, I'd like to mention also Eva Petric. She's also using a very distinctive approach, working thematically with his own body shadows or reflections. Many times she's repetitive in doubling or even multiplying her body, and this project, which was a really long-term project, took her like 10 years, was then finished in a very extensive artist book, which you can see here, called Grey Matter, the same as the project. So you can find many scenes and motifs, again with her own body, shadows, reflections, and so on. In this way, I think she did a body of work which is pretty, female, dealing with emotions of herself and so on. So, to summarize, the whole idea was kind of curatorial, to have a booth which will show really interesting positions from late 60s up to the late 70s, and to add to these two positions from the contemporary artists, which are also combining formal and interesting iconographical approaches while using analog photography, which is now also big in terms of revival of analog photography nowadays. Thank you.